What if the skills you need to earn from home aren't the ones you think? Hey, glad you're here. Today I want to do something a little different. Instead of talking about one specific step in building a digital product, I want to zoom out and talk about the 5 skills that have actually changed how I work, how I earn, and honestly, how I think about what's possible at this stage of life. Because here's what I kept running into when I first started trying to figure out this whole work from home thing. Every resource I found was aimed at someone 25 years younger than me, fast, technical, full of jargon. And I kept thinking, is there a version of this that actually fits where I am right now? There is. And these 5 skills are it. So before we get into the list, let me ask you this. Have you ever looked at someone working successfully from home and thought, how did they actually learn to do that? Drop that in the comments because I think a lot of people watching this have been asking that same question quietly for a while. Let's get into it. Skill 1, using AI tools to work faster. This one changed everything for me, and I want to be honest about how I actually use it because I think a lot of people have the wrong picture in their head. I am not a tech person. I did not grow up with this stuff. When AI tools started becoming mainstream, I was genuinely skeptical. I thought this is for coders, for young people, for people who already know what they are doing. What I discovered is that AI is actually most useful for people who already have something to say but struggle with the how. How to organize an idea, how to start a piece of content, how to turn something complicated into something simple and clear. That is where I was. And AI met me exactly there. I use it to help me outline my videos before I record them. I use it to draft descriptions and refine my titles. I use it as a thinking partner when I am stuck on how to explain something. I do not let it replace my voice. I use it to get my voice out of my head and onto the page faster. And here is the thing nobody tells you about learning to use AI tools. The learning curve is much gentler than you think. The skill is not technical. The skill is knowing how to ask a good question. And asking good questions is something most people over 50 are actually very good at. Skill 2, creating content consistently. I want to be careful about how I say this because I think the way most people talk about content creation makes it sound harder and more glamorous than it actually is. Creating content consistently does not mean going viral. It does not mean posting every single day. It does not mean having a professional studio or perfect lighting or an expensive camera. What it actually means is showing up regularly around a topic you know something about and being genuinely useful to the people dealing with that problem. That is it. That is the whole skill. When I first started making videos, I overthought everything: the setup, the editing, the length, the format, and here is what I learned from doing it over and over. The videos where I stopped overthinking and just talked honestly about something real, those are the ones that connected. The skill is not production. The skill is consistency and honesty, showing up week after week with something real to say. And that is a skill that gets easier the longer you do it, not harder. If you have been putting off starting because you do not feel ready, I want to say this directly. You will not feel ready until you start. And the first few are not supposed to be perfect. They are supposed to get you to the next ones. Skill 3, packaging, what you know. This is the one I wish someone had told me about years earlier. And it connects directly to the other two. Most people over 50 have spent decades accumulating knowledge from their careers, from raising families, from solving problems nobody handed them a manual for. And most of that knowledge is just sitting there unreleased. Packaging what you know means taking something you have already figured out, something that took you years to understand, and turning it into a simple, useful resource someone else can learn from. A guide, a checklist, a template, a short course, A set of straightforward steps that saves someone else the time and frustration it took you to figure it out. This is what digital products are. And this is why I believe people in their 50s have a genuine advantage here, not despite their age, because of it. The raw material's already there. The skill is just learning how to package it. And the packaging does not have to be complicated. My first product was simple, not impressive, just useful. And useful is what people pay for. Skill for writing and explaining. Simply, I know what some of you are thinking. Carl, I am not a writer. And I want to push back on that gently. You do not need to be a writer to use this skill. You need to be someone who can explain one thing clearly to one person who needs help with it. That is all this is. Think about how you explain something to a friend or a family member when they are stuck. You do not use jargon. You do not try to sound impressive. You just talk them through it step by step in plain language until they get it. That is the skill applied to content, to product descriptions, to email, to everything you create online. The people who struggle most with this are the ones who try to sound more professional than they naturally are. The people who do best are the ones who just write the way they talk. Your voice is an asset. The way you naturally explain things to someone is an asset. The skill is just learning to trust it and use it consistently. Skill 5, organizing information for others. This one ties everything together, and it is probably the most underrated skill on this list. Here is what I mean. The internet is full of information. On almost any topic, there is more content available than any one person could consume in a lifetime. And yet people still feel lost, overwhelmed, and confused about where to start. Why? Because information without structure is just noise. The skill of organizing information, taking something complicated and making it clear, taking something overwhelming and making it simple, taking something scattered and giving it a logical order, that skill has enormous value online. It is what a good checklist does. It is what a good beginner's guide does. It is what a good video does when it takes a confusing topic and walks someone through it step by step. And it is a skill that most people over 50 have been developing for decades without realizing it. Every time you managed a project, trained someone new, explained a process, or figured out how to present something clearly, you were practicing this skill. You already have it, you just have to start applying it online. So here is what I want you to take from this video. These 5 skills, using AI to work faster, creating content consistently, packaging what you know, writing and explaining simply, and organizing information for others are not technical. They are not reserved for younger people. They are not things that require a degree or a big budget or years of practice before you can start. They are skills that people in their 50s are genuinely well positioned to develop because they build on things you have already been doing your whole working life. The shift is not learning something completely new. It is learning to apply what you already have in a new direction. If I can do this after everything I went through, so can you. So here is your one action from today. Look at the 5 skills I just walked through and pick the one that feels most natural to you. Just one. Write it down and think about one small way you could practice it this week. Not perfectly, not completely, just one small step. That is enough. And if you want to see exactly how I have been applying these skills to build simple digital products that earn while I am not working, I have got a whole series walking through that process step by step. Links are in the description below. Start from video 1, no fluff, no hype, just the real process. If this video helped you today, hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear this. I will see you in the next one.